Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. Early morning here. Food for the thoughts for today. Monday talk. I'm gonna call some of my podcast. Rename some of the podcast title to Monday talks, Friday talks, like that, like the idea. So I was thinking about and listening to leadership, and I have been doing quite a few episode talking about leadership, bad leadership. But it's becoming more and more obvious actually that people don't have the right training or the right insight on good leadership. And I'm meaning being able to take the right decision, not letting any other individuals rule the area in creating chaos. It's very interesting when you end up in situation that you don't ask for, that you don't even want to be in, and you're being dragged in because of poor leadership when you ask for support and you don't get it. It's very interesting to see as an observer, when you become the observer, how poorly leadership can run. And it set the tone for everything. Changes have to happen in life. We cannot, or if you try, well, good luck with that, not to continue to evolve and change and move into the right direction, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. You are becoming the grain of salt that will help a company to evolve. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid that, oh my God, if somebody take my position, then, somebody's going to take it. Well, when you go into the paranoia world and you're starting to micromanage people and you're not even stepping up as a leader, then you're not running the show properly. You're becoming the cancer on the top that's going to trickle down to the best people you've got. Supporting each other doesn't mean that in time of situation where you got conflict, it's one side. You always meet in the middle. That's always been my motto, actually. And I've seen people reacting and overreacting, but I was right, and he was wrong, and it's me. And it's like, you know what? We have to make compromise. It depends on what happened, but in general, you do compromise. You meet people in the middle. Sometimes it's not feasible that you want this to happen, so you have to find a different solution. I have worked on businesses that was surprisingly chaotic, and department were not talking to each other, which those departments, when you talk about the sales department and the production, needed to work hand on hand to deliver to their customers. But when there is a rift between both sides and everybody is bickering and nobody wants to budge, that you have to become actually the mediator. Here, what are the pain points? And resolve based on the pain point. It's not based on how people feels, and emotion is based on the situation and the action that needs to be taken. So the pain point can be removed. It can be in a form of creating, like I've done. I'm going to take an example. There were some specification that needs to be given to the production in order for them to do and bring the right quote, ensuring they could get everything that was needed and ordering it, the raw material, to make sure everything was supposed to be. So there were specification that was needed. The problem is the sales team omitted some of those critical descriptions that needed to be there. So they used to send emails, plain emails that missed half of it, because if you don't have, a form is easy. And people are going to say, well, but you're adding. No, we're not adding. We're simplifying, actually. When you add a form where you get everything in there, you just have to fill it out very quickly and you're done. When you're on a run, on a go, and you're super busy and you don't have a form, I can guarantee you're going to forget half of the things you're supposed to put it in. And it becomes a trail of back and forth email where a form can resolve this upfront and you're done. So what I did, and I was on day one actually, because that was at the time of the interview, this is where I started to realize there was a problem. So day one, I started it. It was very interesting because I went there, started, and the first thing I did was to get a hold of that form, have a conversation with the sales team at the same time, and build up something within the it was an Outlook. I don't remember if it was Outlook. I don't remember if it was Outlook or Lotus. It doesn't matter. And creating a generic form where it will pop, you bring it in, you fill it out, and it's sent it directly to the team, completed. And you could have, and I was CC'd in there at the beginning, and you could have some back and forth if it wasn't necessary, but it reduced the time and the frustration from the production side, which was very good. It forces everybody to get their ducks in a row. At the beginning, the production side didn't like a couple of things I modified in there. But I said, you know what? Let's give it 30 days. And let's reassess after 30 days how it goes so we can, fine tune. But let's give it a shot. Past 30 days, there was one or two things to modify. I said, well, now let's give it about 3 to 4 months, see how it goes with everybody, and we'll reassess the entire process. We reassessed it. There were no complaints. The complaints were at the beginning because there was a change that needed to happen. There were a lot of frustration happening. There were a lot of frictions happening. So becoming the bridge as somebody who come, what I call the peacemaker, or in a leadership position, is somebody who has to take actions, not sitting back and hoping that everything will be resolved. Sometimes people don't like conflicts. They run away, they go and hide and ignore. When you're in leadership position, this is not a position you want to be in, because if you do this, this is where chaos starts. They have to have defined rules for everybody, meaning we're defining this because if we're not defining it, people will run left, right, middle, center, and create a chaos. So redefining a simple rules will help. Some are not inclined to do that because they're worried. Well, if I'm doing this, people are not going to like it. If I'm doing this, people are not going to come back. Yes, they are going to come back. If you're running a business, they will come back if you define the rules. Yes, it depends what you decide to do. But like taking an example of, there was Target who at the beginning were accepting return without receipts. Imagine how much scam that was happening. And a lot of stores and grocery stores were doing the same thing until they finally realized they were losing a ton of money because some items they never had it in their store were brought back and they lost money. Then they started to ask for receipts back, which makes sense. If you don't have your receipts, I'm not reimbursing you. You have to keep your receipts. People were not happy at the beginning. They were pissed. Oh, this is not customer service. Yes, it is customer service. You always have, when you're running a retail store, you have a percentage of, and it's part of the pricing, actually. That's why you price what you price. And it depends because some are do it for profit. So they will triple the pricing. I could give some of the secrets on what's happening in grocery store because I do know that very well because I used to do some things in grocery store and I could see the pricing when I was doing the ordering. But let's talk about, you have a loss. You always have a loss when you're running a retail. You have a loss and you even have insurance on the loss too. So those losses goes against your profits, which is good actually. When you get a loss, if you're making millions of dollars and you get a good loss, it's nice to have because it allowed you to pay less taxes because this is part of your operations. So when you think about people can scam, then you change the rule or you update the rule to the point that people get pissed off and you got some who got temper tantrum. But most, I would say, the majority of people will not try to come with other receipts. That's what it should be. So you're thinking, you're thinking. Let me first explain how, for people who don't know, how pricing works. I worked it was my second job actually, and I kept it for a long time for the reason of paying my discount for my phone. I know. But it was very interesting because when you work on overnight, because I worked on overnight in grocery, it was very interesting. Excuse me, I'm drinking. So when I started it, first of all, that was a grocery store open 24/7 a day, 365 a year, or maybe closed it one day. That was it. But the rest of the time, once I think, once or twice. That was it. But it was open at all time also. But it was very interesting because when I went over there, I was working within the produce department. And what was good is that at night when I started it, people didn't realize because I was going over there at 10 p.m. and 10 to 5 or 6 a.m. I don't remember, 5 or 6 a.m. because after that I was leaving for my regular consulting job. So I studied it and I had to clean up all of the fresh produce. So the wall of the one who has the water. So you got the salad, you get everything. And I was doing all of the walls. I wasn't touching the apples or anything like that. That would have been too easy for me to do. So I was doing the deep clean. So the first day or two I started it, people, were not coming shopping for their produce area at all. Then somebody realized, there is somebody at 10 o'clock. She's not leaving. So I'm going to start to do my grocery at, 11, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I saw an increase within 2 weeks from maybe one person to about 5, 6, 10, 20 people. So people knew I was there. And by morning, it looks like a grand opening. You would look at the walls, everything. You knew when I passed because everything was up to par. It was just beautiful. Loved it. Then the first week, I started to notice, that items were missing and what needed to be ordered, and I did not have it in the back. So I was starting to give the person in the morning that was arriving at 5 for a half an hour. I was letting her know I need this is missing, blah, blah, blah. We did that. Then I had access to the book. This is where I realized and I saw the pricing. And the pricing were from 100% more to 300% more. So if an item costs you, let's say 50 cents, they will sell it $1.50 to $2. So you could see the produce margin in there as well, which was very interesting actually. Then what I did, because based on what we were selling, I modified some of the shelves, and this was a corporate store. It wasn't a franchise. And we were ordering stuff the franchise had, not the corporate, but people were buying it. So we were breaking rules left and right. We got slapped on our fingers, didn't care because it's not based on an understanding that, and it helps to work actually this way because it helps the customer journey that every area, every cities have a different population. Some will be more Asian oriented, some will be more white, some will be more black, some will be more purple, whatever ethnicity in the world is. And you could see what sells and what doesn't sell. So we would sell, I would say, jalapeno, how many? 100, there was a 25, at least 100 pounds within 4 days. And we were selling the red pepper, hot pepper, the red one. We'll sell at Zipodito. I'm saying Zipodito, that's mean you would put it on the shelf, it will rotten on the shelf. It was a waste of money. So got rid of that, got the Thai in there, expanded the Thai because a lot of people love the Thai. So people know in the area, the word of mouth that you're open. So I had people from several cities around that would come and shop at night. So we had a huge diverse produce there. And we thrive that we were always Number two for the produce in a store, in a region. And number one was the headquarter over there where they were. So we could not, we maybe beat them once, but we were always number two every damn week. We made so much money. And you have to understand an hour of, and that was very interesting at that time, that probably have changed. But to pay an employee, not even $10 an hour, their profit for $10 an hour, then you needed to have $90 of produce purchase. Isn't it outrageous? That's how it works. And they give you the hours based on the what do you call it? Good lordy. Based on their revenue. So on their forecast. So it was very interesting to see how it functioned in the back at that time. But understanding that when you got good leadership, because she was phenomenal, Kathy was phenomenal. She got a lot of hit in her face, but she was so good at what she was doing. I greatly appreciated her for that. But it was good to see how you can get things running, because you get people who would ask you for some fruits that now are available more mainstream, but they were not at that time. They were more Asian exotic fruits. So we were trying to figure out how to get some of the items. Then you got corporate to try to stop the diversity in the stores and make it more generic for everybody, which is one of the biggest mistakes, because you have to adapt to your customers and to your audience. It's not based on what you want. It's based on the needs on the ground. And that started to create more problem. They reduced the amount, they redid the remodeling, they reduced the space for produce, which was a huge space. And we had a ton of stuff. There was such a turnaround. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it that small store will do so much, because they were making per week $1 million per week. This is how bad, how big, how badass they were. But it's just a matter of how do you adapt, how do you make the changes, how you evolve on everything. And you have to look at, your audience. You have to look at the customer point of view too, because you want to attract the right customers. When you try to create chaos within a company and you're in a bad leadership, then that becomes a problem. Big time, very quickly. In the case in a produce where I worked for a few years, on overnight, Kathy kicked some butt like there were no tomorrow. We broke all of the rules, but the rules was because franchise was allowed to order whatever they feel like, because they were not a corporate store. Corporate store had to follow the rules. They had a specific thing. But it would not sell as much produce if we were not listening to the audience to see what was selling and what wasn't. Why would I put something on the shelf that costs $45 a case, that is rotten in the back, that nobody is eating, even if you put a special on it? But you got other products, like I'm going to get the jalapeno where I use 4 trays and they were full, literally full. And by the time I came back, it was just like, okay, 150 pounds for 4 days. It depends on the week. But I could give it to the box, literally. The problem I had is the people were doing at the time of the, inventory. They would stop to order, which was ridiculous. And I'm like, if I order to the box, that by Monday morning, there is no more box in the back. It's almost, the back room, the section where I was working in is almost empty, if it's not empty. Continue to order, because if you don't order, you're not going to sell. If you don't sell, you don't make money. If you don't make money, then you got less people working in your department. That's something you have to look at as well. So I just wanted to give a little overview on that, because it's very interesting when you go to a store and understand how things change, improve. Like we had people who attempted to return some produce, claiming that was from the store and they were bad, they were this, they were that. And again, it's always in the middle of the night where all of the cats are gray, quote unquote. So it wasn't very honest when they were trying to do that. And I had to stop a couple of them because we never did. And I had them coming back the next day, which they never showed up and talked to the manager because it's like, no, that's too fishy. We're not reimbursing you for something that I know those roots where the one I put it up are not, being damaged or you cook them and allegedly that turned bad. It's like, no, you bring your raw stuff. But again, no receipts, nothing. So working with new processes and really set up the rules and the intention helps. And it doesn't matter if you have an organization that is a private, small, big, it doesn't matter what kind. Set up the rules. Because if you don't set up the rules, then chaos comes. And when chaos comes, it creates conflicts. And when people don't have the leadership skill sets to say no, but gonna let things go as they want it to go, it can turn to be very damaging. There is a lot of companies that should be thriving and they don't because of the chaos. You have to be the middle person at some point. You have to be the mediator, and it should be in a leadership role. In the case of the company when I work, the one I started right away, and I figured out what was the pain point with that, and I got it resolved the first couple of days. It was to make it better between two departments because they were tearing each other apart. It wasn't helping the company, it wasn't helping the customers, it wasn't helping anybody except bringing more resentment and anger. That's not what it's supposed to be. We all gonna, at some point in time, gonna have conflicts with each other. This is what it is. But it doesn't have to be at the level of friction that nobody can stand each other because of one simple solution that got implemented. Help them. We're all busy in our lives, but we have to simplify a few things. So automating those forms helped both of the teams much better. Life was easier on both sides. So when a need and a demand was happening, then it was fulfilled faster because they had the right information using the right tool. If they needed supplemental information, then they will utilize the same form to go back and forth one or twice, and that was it. Such a huge difference. But again, leadership is something that people want, but they cannot do it because they don't understand. You gotta be the bad guy once in a while, but you have to listen and hear people. Don't ignore them or brush them away. Listen to the problem and do nothing. It's not helping. It's creating a bigger situation that it's very difficult at the end of the day to undo when it goes that far. So this was our podcast for today. I have no idea what we're going to be talking on our next podcast, but we'll see. So all my love, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Imran's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Imran's Universe Podcast. Universe Podcast.